From the Ticats Audio Network, this is Morreale and Hitch.
All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Morreale and Hitch podcast. Hitch, we got a great show today. Special guest. We're going to let the people know who that is right now, but why don't you do your spiel here? You got something to say.
Yeah, we got a little bit of a live feed. We have to talk about Danny Mac. So we're going to see Danny McManus' name go up on the wall of honor at the Ticats Rider game on October 7th. The night before, we were celebrating Danny and his Wall of Honor dinner, and fans can join us there. Tickets for the dinner are $140 each. Wow, they weren't that much when I did it. But if you buy it before Labor Day, you can get your tickets or a seat for $125. Go to ticats.ca for details. So $140. That's well worth it.
You read that? That sounded like you read it.
It's a live feed. It's a live
feed. What's a live feed mean?
That's what they want us to do, even though this is taped.
I love it. I know, we're all laughing, we're all smiling. Let's face it, the Ticats are not laughing and smiling right now. The Ticats are struggling at the moment. But having said that, we got Labor Day coming up. And we've played on enough crappy teams to know that once Labor Day comes, that's all that really matters. And we'll get into a little bit more on Labor Day, a little bit more about, Danny go up on the wall with our special guest, who we are going to introduce right now. Yes. And this is a big one. Yeah. This is a big one.
We know this one this time. We didn't know the ones before.
We know this person is coming on. We have to. We got to go through 14 levels of security clearance, right, to get to this person. So without further ado, can we please welcome our special guest? Hey, there he is, the caretaker, Mr. Bob
Young.
Hey,
how are you, sir?
I'm doing very well. So are we video recording or just audio recording this?
Oh, no, we got your lovely face, too.
Yes.
I better get the makeup people in here.
So listen, Bob, are you slightly nervous about coming on our show, or are you good to go? Let's be honest.
I'm extremely nervous. I've got... there's Good Morning America, and then there's your show.
That's right.
Doesn't get much better than that, does it? Well, we're very excited to have you on. We're excited about what's happening, this weekend and Labor Day Monday. We really want to spend this time talking a bit about your journey to how you became a Ticat fan and then ultimately buying the Cats, what Labor Day means to you. And it's funny, Hitch and I were talking as we were, prepping for the show, which is a rarity. We don't prep for the show. So this is like, I'm not promising it's going to be better.
Honored.
No.
We put in extra several minutes to prepare, so that's good.
Yes.
But we were talking, I'm thinking, if it wasn't for the Ticats, I'm not sure that, maybe Rob and I would have crossed paths, but we definitely never would have crossed paths with Bob Young and vice versa. I'm not suggesting that you weren't an athlete, Bob. I'm just saying, we're not software developers either. So, I don't think we would have merged. So tell me what the experience of owning the Cats has meant to you in terms of your circle of friends and what you have experienced from being an owner in the CFL.
Yeah. So my sort of journey into sports, ownership for business is not the typical one, because I got into it. How does my wife puts it? For highly illogical reasons. As a kid, though, I played Ticats with my cousin Billy in my backyard. He played Joe Zuger and I was Garney Henley, kind of thing.
Awesome.
When I hit about age 12, I became somewhat self-aware to the point of recognizing that I was in fact born with two left feet. And no, I never was going to play for the Tiger Cats. And it was sort of I'd call it a midlife crisis, but a little bit before that. And then fast forward, I have a little bit of success in business. My favorite,
I would say so.
Yeah, a little bit.
Gets into financial difficulties. and I find myself in a position to help. So I go, hold on, I didn't actually have to be Garnie Henley in order to help the so,
Well, it's amazing full circle moment, and I know that you have a brother named Mike. And I get asked this a lot because there's this sign as you walk through the
yeah.
Caretaker's Lounge that says Mike is watching, and some people think it's for me. I'm like, no, it's not for me.
Yeah.
Mike is watching, but not that one.
All the time. Didn't anyone
Yes.
tell you that?
But that story about, because I've heard it, but maybe not everyone knows, your brother was a big diehard Ticats fan. Is that
Yeah.
correct?
So our whole extended family, I mean, you grow up in Hamilton, you are genetically programmed as a Ticat fan. But in our family, yeah, we go back with the Ticats years and years. My Uncle Bill served on the board of directors of the Ticats in the 1950s. My grandfather played for the Ticats for a single season,
Wow.
1913, and they won the Great. So my grandfather's name,
Amazing.
he was young, and his name, but he went by the nickname Bill, and it's on the Grey Cup.
Awesome.
So in my family, 3 boys. My older brother Michael, who had learning disabilities. My brother David and I went off to college and did very well for ourselves. Michael never graduated high school, but like a lot of people in that situation, possibly the finest human being that any of us knew, but also the biggest Ticat fan that any of us knew. Michael, my father worried about Michael his whole life. Michael inherited a little bit of money from my parents, and my father would invest it for him very carefully. My father put a little bit of Michael's money into my little company at the time, a thing called Red Hat. 3 years later, Red Hat attracts the attention of venture capital companies. My father comes to me, says, do you mind if I sell? Because, we made a great return on this, Bob, but I'm going, Dad, I'm probably moving into your basement with Nancy and our kids. Good thing one of us takes some money off the table. Dad goes to Michael and says, Michael, we really should sell. It's been a great investment. Michael says, well, Bobby's done pretty well for us so far. And Dad goes, yeah. It's a really good investment. We should take our profits. Michael says, well, no, if Bobby's still involved, I want to stay involved.
Very good.
The only time my brother ever disagreed with my father. A year later, Red Hat goes public at the very top of the .com bubble. My father goes from worrying about his oldest son, Michael, to becoming his money manager. Sense of humor. This amused him more than anyone. But very sadly, Michael died 2 years later from melanoma cancer. And I inherit this whopping great check. He didn't have a family, so David and I inherit all his money. David puts Michael's money into a foundation. I'm casting about as to what I should do with his money. And I get a note from a friend in Hamilton with a link to the story in The Spectator of the Hamilton Ticats going bust. And I couldn't let my older brother and his favorite football team pass away at the same time. And
wow.
That's kind of how
So the timing of Michael's passing and the ownership opportunity with the Ticats was almost at the same time?
Exactly the same time. Literally, it was the same week that his estate settled that I get this note from a friend with a smiley. Like, my friend is just kidding me about, sort of, maybe I should do this. And it wouldn't have occurred. It would, but for Michael's passing and his huge passion for the Ticats, it wouldn't have occurred to have gotten involved. I would have been, as a fan, disappointed that the Ticats were in financial. But the actual trigger, both because I had Michael's money so I could afford to gamble on it, and I had the emotional motivation.
Attachment. Yeah.
Okay.
Wow.
That,
What a
yeah,
great story.
it's incredible to think that, the memory of your brother now lives through the Ticats, right? It is
It, it
in some ways.
it is, as my wife, as Nancy says, and she loved Michael more than any of us. I mean, to the point where I think she only married me to give Hilda. But her line, I of course spend a lot of time, particularly in the early years with the Ticats when we were struggling both on the field and as a business. So I was spending a lot of time on it. And Nancy's line was, if Michael hadn't died, because of course he was the one who got me involved in this, if Michael hadn't died, she'd have to kill him.
Oh.
I'm sure the early years were not that much fun in some respects. You would have bought the team, correct me if I'm wrong, in around 2003 going into 2024, correct? Or 2004.
Yeah, 2004 was my first season, yeah.
Was your first year. And that was from my perspective, that was the year that I came back to Hamilton for my second go around in 2004 under Greg Marshall, and you as the owner, and Bob Young, or pardon me, and Scott and everybody that was involved. And we were excited about it, and I was very curious not only as a player but as a fan in the lead up to you becoming the owner. It was under the guise of Mr. X, and I'll never forget it because I realized after what Mr. X was. Mr. X was MRX, which was one of your digital companies that you had created that you just used the pseudonym that Mr. X. So it was in plain sight, yet hidden at the same time. How did that come about?
So, two important topics. One is if I don't know if either of you guys were at the Warplane Heritage Museum event when I was introduced as the caretaker of the time. And I stood up there on stage all by myself because the journalists were all asking me, specific questions like, who's your coach? Who's your and I'm up there on the thing going, well, meet my coach, and just, putting my arm out around a fictitious piece of air.
I remember that.
And my business manager So I had no idea what I was doing, and I was very upfront about that. Like, I had no training. I had never run a sports business. It had never occurred to me to want to run a sports business. I knew I had a massive learning curve. And as you guys suffer, and I apologize to both of you because your career suffered from this. I didn't know what I was doing, and so I didn't do it very well. I had good people in that organization, as you know, Ron Lancaster, Greg Marshall, and I just used them badly. I did not know what I was doing, and it wasn't until, we went the first year we had a dead cat bounce, if you remember, and we won half our games and we went to the playoffs. But then the following 3 years, we were 3-15 for 3 years in a row, which in the CFL was
tough,
hard to do. And it wasn't until we got Scott Mitchell involved that we got this thing turned around. So Scott saved us, if you like.
Yep.
But it wasn't until I understood what the role of the president needed to be. And so then my president, who had background in sports and sports management, could help me structure the rest of the organization, the separation to the business office, the team's general manager who found the talent, the coaching staff who used that talent to win games with. And now, we've had, with the exception, sadly, so far of this season, we've had a remarkable run of success because we do know what we're doing and we do it very well.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things, Bob, is when we were there in 04, your first year, is we saw that that separation before at Everyone Stadium. We had the football ops and the ticket people and everybody were in one area, just all kind of working together. And as you know, or as people may not know this, but you separated the football operations and the business side of the football.
Yeah.
Which a lot of the teams are doing. I know Edmonton was doing it. A couple other teams are doing the same thing. Those are successful organizations. And when you did that, we didn't know any better. We should probably thank you, because I don't think anyone has thanked you, Bob, over those years for coming. Not only as players when you came in, but the vision that we saw, my second and third year, of us seeing you and what you've done and the future, not just of we're gonna win this year. We're gonna build this up and we're gonna be a good team in a couple of years. And I think that's what the success. I know that's what success has brought, and I know you've brought that. So on behalf of Mike and I and all the players that came in, and not even that, the fans in the league, because you've truly changed the game as I see it in Hamilton, because it was on its way out, and for us to see where it's gone from 2003 to where it is today, it's mind-boggling. So we thank you so much for that.
So it's interesting because it goes both ways. My only understanding of business and organizational management is to recognize that at the end of the day in business, unlike in the military where you run a very hierarchical structure and the general issues an order and the privates have to execute, in business it's the other way around. Because you're serving customers, your customers are at the top of this inverted pyramid, and everyone's job is to make those customers successful. So you're all on the same team, and you work your way down the organization chart till you get to the very bottom, which is where I am, because it's my job to make Scott Mitchell successful. It's Scott's job to make Matt Afnick and Orlando Steinauer successful. It's their job to make the players successful, and the organization's job to make our fans successful. And the beauty of this model is that's precisely how we got the Greater Hamilton area behind building a fancy new sports stadium in Hamilton. Mm-hmm. We had to get everyone. We didn't just have to get the mayor. We had to get all the citizens who were paying the taxes on board with the idea that this was a good investment of the city and the provinces and money. And the whole thing worked beautifully because we put our customers, we put the fans at the top of this pyramid. And the fans are the citizens of Hamilton and of Ontario. And so the whole thing works really well. And it's not about me, it's about you guys, because the fans aren't cheering for me. I hate to.
Well, I will say now in my current role in business and in sport, and I look back on my time spent in the CFL. I can't believe I've been in professional sport now for 30 years, which is like crazy. I'm getting old. But, I was able to see it as a player, as an executive, as a player president, as a broadcaster. And the CFL really taught me everything about my new role, bad, good, and otherwise, right? Because it there's always going to be good, there's always going to be bad, and there's always going to be things you change or you keep. But, I would say from your perspective, in the amount of time that you spent, because from 2003 to 2022, 19 years, you have seen a lot of highs, a lot of lows. What does success mean to you?
A great company, of course, and the damn league just keeps.
Yes.
They get those damn refs to throw that flag to deprive me of the goal.
Oh, yep.
It wasn't about Speedy B. It wasn't about a holding call. It was directed at Bob Young, and they were determined.
Oh. Well, you've earned that right, Bob, to be upset about it. You paid your dues, I'd say, many times over. So let's we'll talk about where we are today with the Cats. They need to get better. We know that, but it's Labor Day. And no matter what happens, whether you're 3-15 in the years that we played, and some years 1-17 or 2-16, if you win on Labor Day, it really takes a lot of the misery and pain away. So when you grew up, what did Labor Day mean to you? And what does it mean to you now?
Well, it kind of means the same thing to me that it means to Ticat fans around the world. And hot off the presses, Labor Day is sold out again.
Awesome.
Here. Just
awesome.
The fact the team is our record on the field is not great. Our fans still care about it because Hamilton is this blue collar town. We're not ritzy. We're not, this isn't about marketing. This is about delivering value, whether in our business or our schools or our hospitals. And Toronto down the road is all about the glitz. It's all about the world-class city stuff. And it just gives us such great satisfaction to remind them that no, glitz is great, but there isn't a lot of substance to it, and they're relying on us to deliver the substance, and that's what we're going to do on Labor Day.
Amazing. Rob, what did it mean to you growing up?
Well, growing up, because my first game, I think I was in 1975 or 76. I was 5 or 6 years old, and my mom and dad had season tickets up in Section 28. And it was, for me, going to the game back then, when there was fights in the stands back in the 70s and 80s because the hatred of Toronto and Hamilton on Labor Day. And then that is, of course, have changed, and now it's family oriented and it's awesome. But I see a lot of young people here at games now, which it's awesome to see. But for me growing up, I remember going to these games and just thinking, would it be cool to be down there and playing against the Argos or playing in the CFL? And this was like a really young age because I love football. I was following my brothers, and they were pretty good athletes at the time. And for me, it was just my mom and dad were such huge fans, and they went. They didn't have a lot of money, but they went and they had season tickets every single game. And they went and they had 2 other couples that they went with, so there's 6 of them. And then they bought us our tickets as well. So for me, it was just more like emotional just to go to those games and to see the packed stands and to watch some really good football. Like my players, when I used to, Dieter Brock, Tony Champion, Rufus Crawford back in the day. Because my sister had some friends that knew Rufus Crawford, and they ended up coming to our house, and he was the running back. And I met him when I was 11. And it was I had 5 friends over, and we were meeting this Ticat, Rufus Crawford, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is like an amazing thing right now. And then next thing you know, 20 years later, I'm playing for them. So it was really, really cool. Man, how about you, Mike?
Oh man, incredible. Same thing. When I was 5 years old, I can remember sitting in the stands, watching Labor Day games, watching the packed house, the intensity of the game on the field and in the stands too, right? People getting tossed out and fights and police showing up. It all built to really what I think you and I, Rob, made us gritty, right? Like if you're a Hamiltonian, you got some grit and you're tough. And that's exactly what it means to be a Hamilton Tiger Cat. So we kind of grew up thinking, I can play that game because I'm not going to back down to these guys. I'm not going to back down to Toronto that's coming down the street. This is our house. But I've been on both sides.
Yeah, thank you for those stories. Those are great. And what's interesting is those of us who never actually became the athletes, who never played, never made the transition that you guys have just described, where you went from being impressed by Rufus Crawford to being Rufus Crawford.
Yeah.
But here I am, 65, and I'm tongue-tied, going, whoa, I'm talking to Rob Hitchcock and Mike Morreale. I better sit up straight.
We don't feel like that, Bob. Believe me, we don't feel like that.
No.
I know. It's a cute joke, but as an example, Garney Henley came up for the Grey Cup last year. Garney, besides being an all-time great Ticat, is a prince of a human being. Mm-hmm. And he was up for the game, and I sent a note saying, hey, wherever you're sitting, because I saw him before the game at one of the events in Hamilton, I said, come and visit us in my box if you would, because my kids would, they've heard me talk about you. So he did, and he ended up staying the whole game.
Oh, nice.
Couldn't have been sweeter. Like I was sitting with my daughters explaining the game to them, as seen from an all-star Ticats perspective. So, and it just gave me such great pleasure. But this was Garney Henley.
Yeah.
Well, that's I mean, the Garney Henley, the Ben Zambiazis, the Ange Moscas, the Danny McManuses, who was going up in the Wall of Fame, and we'll be celebrating him on October 6th and 7th. I mean, this is really thrilling, and you know, a huge moment for me. It was when Rob went up on the wall, because as a Hamiltonian, to have that, it doesn't get any better.
Yeah, we aren't stealing our heroes from South Dakota to come. And we're breeding our own all-star football players. So this is it, Rob. Your story is one of our favorites. Yeah,
it's incredible, and I would say that, you know, to Rob's point earlier, we owe you a debt of thanks, because now you can walk into a beautiful stadium where you know the team is, you know, provided everything they need to be successful, and you're not worried about whether you're going to get your paycheck the next week, or whether you know, there's been situations prior to you, Bob, where we showed up in BC and Rob and I had to put our credit cards down so the whole team could stay at the hotel room. So we've been through,
and we only had $1,500 on our cards.
But you know, and I think, having lived through it as a player and as a fan, you know, we followed along on all the roller coaster ride, but to see the level of consistency that you brought through ownership and through hiring the right people has really made the Ticat organization arguably one of the tops, you know, easily in the league. And I think, you know, do you owe that to people? Do you owe that to, who do you owe that to? Like, where does that fall?
So there are a whole bunch of individuals. You know, the key guys: Scott Mitchell, Matt Afneck, Doug Rye, who led the effort to get the stadium built, for example. But they couldn't have built the stadium without the support, as we were talking about earlier, of the whole city of Hamilton. And we got that support from the work that, you know, you and Rob have done, you know, sort of building our brand. And we could only leverage the love of the Ticats if we had the history, if we had the success and the role models for people to identify with. And so where, you know, Garney Henley is my hero, there's generations of Hamiltonians who you and Rob are the heroes of. But it's this collective effort. It's this understanding that it's not about us. You know, it's our significant others remind us daily that it's not all about us.
Yeah.
Isn't that true?
But it's actually true. It isn't, in fact, about us. It's about serving our community of customers. In our case, serving our community. And what we all forget about as human beings is we get so caught up in our own lives that we think somehow we're going to fix things by looking inward, when in fact the secret is to fix things by looking outwards.
Mm-hmm.
Doing things for other people, it not only makes their life better, it makes your life better. And as an organization, the more we can be outbound, the more we can be in our community, the more we can be listening to those drunk fans who are going to give our hell on Monday.
Wow.
You know, it just, the more we do that, the happier we are as human beings. And shockingly enough, the more successful as an organization we are.
Well said. Well said. Well, Mike, we're going to get in trouble here because for the 17 or 18 people that listen to our show or might not be watching this, we are talking with the caretaker, Mr. Bob Young. We do have to say this once in a while, Bob, because people that are not watching this don't know who we are talking about. So I'm glad that we have to say this 27 minutes into our conversation. So, Caretaker Bob Young, this is just an amazing. We're so happy that you came on the show, and it would have been better if it was a surprise, I think, because I don't know if you've been watching or looking, but we've had, you know, Danny Mac and Flutie on, and Dave Hack and Jeff Cummins. We've had some guy, but we have no idea who our guests were. So they kind of did this, and we've kind of just pushed it on each week, and it's actually pretty fun because when the name pops up, we look at it and we just sit back and go, oh my gosh, we haven't seen you in 15 years. But I'm kind of glad that we did know it was you, because we wouldn't have been prepared the 4 minutes that we talked before the show.
Bob, you would have, if we didn't know it was you, you may have been in trouble. You would have been much more nervous than you maybe are now.
No, but what you're telling me makes sense, because I've listened and watched your show before, and it's always been fun and entertaining. And I was wondering what had happened to you today.
We have strict orders.
17 viewers. Okay, I, Caretaker Bob, I'm talking to the great Rob Hitchcock. He actually played for the Ticats. And Mike Morreale equally was, a good journeyman player for the team. So, these guys are worth listening to.
Oh, that's a great plug. We need that. We need that.
Thank you. I look at kind of, what the Ticats have meant to myself, and I know what it's meant to Rob and my family and the community. I grew up in a football household where football was the most important and the Ticats were the most important. And my first Grey Cup that I was able to win, it was with the team down the street, but we played at Iverwin Stadium. And, I'll never forget that moment, because that was where Rob and I played our high school football, and I remained in Hamilton and went to McMaster, and really, I remember driving by the stadium the day of the Grey Cup in 1996, and the snow was falling, and it was just an incredible atmosphere, and thinking, oh my God, like this life has come full circle. The funny thing is, we were able to win, very fortunate, won the Grey Cup. I get into the locker room, and happened to be, we had the home team locker room. So we were in the Hamilton dressing room. And who was in there before I got there but my grandfather, dressed head to toe in Ticat gear. Head to toe. His son just won the Grey Cup for the other team down the street, and I got pictures with him that that I cherish forever, with the Grey Cup and me, my arm around him. He's got Ticat hat, Ticat shirt, Ticat jacket, Ticat pants, Ticat everything. So,
and you got your Argo jersey on.
And I got my Argo jersey on. He would never change his allegiance, no matter even what his grandson was doing. So that tells you about the power of the Ticats.
Yeah, but it's the joy of the CFL generally, is we do have these fans, because the CFL, before you launched your basketball league, and of course the new CPL soccer league, the CFL was the only horizontal Canadian sports league, and so it connected Canadians from coast to coast. And I have I work with a guy here in Raleigh, North Carolina, who's a Canadian. He's from Toronto, but he's an accountant, a retired accountant. He comes and gives us a hand in my wife's needlepoint business. He's a diehard Argo fan.
No way.
And we have the best conversation about the CFL and about Canada and what it means to us as Canadians living in the States to have this connection over our little rivalry between the Argos and the Ticats. And of course, for the last few years, the Ticats have had the Argos number. So my buddy Bud is not happy with me, except for this year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, you don't remember, but I think you might have told you this story, but I was also at the 96 Grey Cup as a fan.
Oh, yes,
I was sitting up there,
that.
and it was a little bit different. You had the Grey Cup, but I actually was in my second year with the Ticats, and I had my shirt off. It was snowing, and I had a few drinks in me. And it was one of those things where I looked over at my wife now, of course, with my girlfriend at the time. And she's like, you play for the Ticats. You should probably put your shirt back on. I said, yeah, I better. So I threw it back on. Oh, my God.
But Rob was typically shirtless as much as humanly possible. So, when he used to drive his first contract, which is about $26,000, bought himself a Mustang convertible and used to drive around the city, without his shirt on. And with his hair slicked back, and
don't listen to him. Don't listen to him.
Talk of the town. Now, if you do that, I'd love to see that, Bob. You jump in your Mustang.
The good news about our misfit friend Rob here is at least he was self-aware. So
yes.
Oh, he was definitely.
girl who protected him from the old Rob Hitchcock.
That's different, man.
Absolutely. His wife, Michelle, is a saint. Absolutely.
Well, Bob, we know that we've got busy days, but we have to ask you one more thing. I know the Grey Cup, we don't want to think 2023, but the Grey Cup is coming back to Hamilton in 23. In 21, I thought it was, with COVID and all the restrictions that were going on, I thought it was a fantastic Grey Cup. Now, are we going to see a little sneak peek of what's coming up? And it's 15 months away, so I don't want to talk too much, but is it going to be different? Is it going to be, I don't know, how much different is it going to be?
Okay, so again, as I say, it's not my job to put on a Grey Cup. It's my job to support smart guys like Scott and Matt Afneck to put on a great Grey Cup. But it will be bigger and much, much better. There was Perfect. An infinite number of things we could not do around the 21 Grey Cup because of COVID. In fact, we were downright fortunate. Like someone won a lot. The fact that we were able to hold the Grey Cup as successfully as it was, and then the province shut down literally the next week. The outbreak of the whatever the version of the virus. And this time we aren't going to have any of that. All of our plans that we've now been working on for 4 years are going to be rolled out. And it'll be a very, very big celebration, and the city's going to remember it for a long time, and the Ticats will win the Grey Cup at home. So
you bet.
You heard it here first, guys. Is that a guarantee? It's as much as you can guarantee it, Bob. You don't play the game, but as much as you can guarantee it, we're going to run with that.
Okay, so you to the bait. Caretaker it's going to throw the winning pass in the.
Oh, I could see you out there now in a uniform. Have you ever tried a helmet, shoulder pads, and the uniform on? Because I would pay money to see that.
So I'll leave you with one of my few athletic prowess stories. Was played organized football. Junior high, I guess, was the level. The only problem was in our school, everyone. We had a little intramural league. So you had the school team that got first dibs on the equipment. We had a big equipment room. School team gets first dibs. The junior varsity team gets second dibs. And then the inter-school league got third dibs, but they handed them out alphabetically. And
oh, jeez.
I go into the locker room to get a helmet. There is exactly one helmet that fits my. The problem with the helmet is it fits me in such a way that the mouth guard, instead of protecting my mouth, came across my eyes. Which in my case wasn't a disadvantage because I was a terrible athlete anyway, so not being able to see what was happening wasn't. The issue was I loved playing tackle football. And seriously, I was one of the world's worst athletes, but I loved tackle football. I loved the excuse of being able to go and run into guys and not have someone yell at you for being mean or unfair. And the fact that the guys were allowed to run into me, that was okay. It was, anyway, so I love tackle football. And so I was one of the few guys in this inter-school league who actually tried, because most of the guys who were on the teams, they just did it for entertainment. So when it got to the little playoffs in our little league, the other team knew they only had to key on the 2 or 3 guys on the team they were facing who actually cared enough to try. And I was one of the stupid guys, and I was doubly stupid because I had this helmet that didn't protect my team. So one opposing guys took me low, and the other opposing guy took me high, and where we should have collided helmets, they had a mouth guard, and my mouth guard was up here, and they managed to whack 2 of my teeth out.
No way!
And I spent 40 years at the dentist dealing with the terrible helmet I was given in whatever it was, grade 10 at this damn school that, and I still love tackle football. So what can I say?
So you heard it here. You've earned your stripes, Bob. You got your teeth knocked out. You have definitely earned your stripes as a football owner. That's for sure.
Yeah. Wow. Amazing.
You know, there's one more announcement, and I think that it hasn't been made yet. But Rob, you and I, on the request, I'm gonna throw it was Bob's request, but let's say it was either Scott's or Matt's or somebody, have been offered the opportunity to be honored on Monday to run out as the alumnus of distinction. It'll be the first time that two people run out, and it'll be you and I,
Yes.
which is pretty cool because we started at the same time, we finished at the same time. We're both Hamilton kids, so I'm pretty pumped about that. And Bob, I don't know if you're running out with us, but if you want to, let's go. Helmet and all.
We'll get you a good helmet.
I would need a better helmet. But no, this is it's both an honor and a huge amount of fun. And the fact that we've got a couple of local boys that we can put out in front of our fans so that all the 10-year-olds, all the Bob Youngs circa whatever, a million years ago, can develop the same attachment to our team and the brand we care about that Rob and I grew up with here in Hamilton. And so, it's an honor for you guys, and we're thrilled that you guys are as supportive of this project as anyone involved with it.
Well, I said to Mike the other day, I said, that's great. You know, being 3-8, as if they were like 8-3, it would be phenomenal to run them out because I'd be happy. But you know what? Labor Day starts, as we all say, this game really starts the next run. So, Bob, I have a great feeling this week. I know that the team has been a little bit of injuries here and there, but there's no excuses. They're a great football club. They got great coaching staff, and we're so looking forward to this Monday to get these Argos and send them home packing, and we're going to be part of it, and we're so excited.
Rob, you're exactly right. And that tradition goes back to when I was a kid. I remember my father at Labor Day, don't ask me which year, but we were struggling, and he was quoting Ralph Sazio as saying, the season doesn't start till Labor Day, so we don't care.
Yeah.
But that's a gross simplification, but the reality is in our league, there's been a lot of teams with a terrible first half record who have gone on to win it all. And I know what Orlando is determined to do this year as well.
Well, thank you so much, Bob, for your time. It's been a great pleasure. We're excited about it, and nothing makes things better than winning. Winning solves everything. That's just the way it is. So we're rooting for a win.
What makes it better is you and Rob running out as alumni of distinction. That's even better than Grey Cup.
And catching a toe on the turf and falling.
Yeah, as long as you have some sort of insurance in case things go awry, then we're okay.
We're good.
Look, I want to take the time to thank you on behalf of Rob, myself, and everybody. Now, your goal next is not only to win on Monday, Bob, but to get Scott Mitchell on this show. And it will be a surprise. And then we're really going to give him the gears. We're going to take it easy on you. We owe you that gratitude. But as Scott, we're going to give a little, we're going to give him a grind here and there whenever we get him on.
Exactly right. I would count on you to do that.
We will.
Disappointed that you didn't give me more grief, but it's a great pleasure to talk.
Awesome.
Thanks, Bob. We appreciate it.
Rob, myself, Bob Young, and everybody here at the Ticats Audio Network, this is the Morreale and Hitch podcast. Go Ticats, go. Let's get ready for Labor Day on Monday.
Awesome.
Bye, everybody.
See you guys. Take care.
Monday, Tim Hortons Field. WeatherTech is pleased to present Tim Hicks. This year's Labor Day Classic will feature a special halftime concert performance featuring award-winning country artist Tim Hicks. Presented by WeatherTech, Tim Hicks. Day in the Hammer.